Hey there, Tuber Titan 12 here with another video. This one is about taming the final boss. This is the fourth episode of this series. Let me tell you, I don't know how long this video is going to be, so you might want to relax, get some popcorn or something, because I'm going to talk for a good bit. This low key may be over 10-minute video. I'm gonna do this in one take as well. I don't like doing the editing stuff, so I like just going straight forward and just talking about an episode or shows that I really like. So, guys, this one episode, in my opinion, is one of the best anime episodes I've seen of the year, and I'm a huge anime fan. Overlord is, of course, my favorite anime up to this point, but this one episode did so much. I had to keep checking the time to see whether or not this episode was really only 20 something minutes. It felt like an entire movie. So much happened in this episode, and what I appreciate is that this anime, unlike some animes I've watched, I love my One Piece, but it drags out a lot. There was no wasted time. I read in the comments of one of the video that I was watching that some people didn't like that it was so rushed or whatnot. I can think that completely different from that. I didn't read the source material, but I felt that there was no wasted time throughout the episode. It was fast paced. I had to keep pausing just to make sure that I got everything because there was so much information thrown at you. But I enjoyed that. I didn't. There was no downtime. There was never a time where I was watching the episode and being bored, or I didn't think about fast forwarding through anything. Every second of this episode had something in it that I needed to pay attention to and see. So it's an episode you can watch 2 or 3 times and not be bored at all. So me personally, I appreciate that by the episode. I honestly am kind of worried, to be honest. What will the show do from here? How can it top this episode? Because again, from start to finish, I thought this episode was perfect. So to kind of sum this episode, because this is based off of a game, there's different routes that you can take. The route that was pushing towards for this episode is for Keith, who was the aide of Claude, to be found out that he betrayed him, and for Claude to go crazy, turn to the dragon, get defeated by that sword from the Holy Maiden, and that's kind of how the game kind of ends. Lilia and Cedric gets to run off to the sunset, I guess, as Eileen dies. That's the route that was supposed to be taken within this episode. So, to kind of back up a little bit, Keith himself is a really cool character. He's not evil like in the game. What happened was when they were younger, the whole reason that Claude got kind of kicked out in the first place was because he saved his life years ago, years prior. When he was a kid, he was drowning in a pool. He could have easily got just left behind, but that's when Claude actually revealed his powers to the public. And by saving him using his magic powers, everybody kind of knew what was up with him. And eventually, he ended up getting cast aside. And because Keith, again, was very appreciative of him saving his life, he followed him and has been his trusted aide along with Belle, ever since. So that's Keith in a nutshell. He's been always loyal to him. But in the game, it was shown that he was selling demons to this count. I believe the name was Count Pell. Peele is what it showed. He was selling him demons, and when Claude found out that his trusted ally was doing that, he went crazy, turned to the dragon, and the route that I talked about earlier, that's what happened. Well, it turns out that the only reason that Keith was selling these demons was because that count was pretty much saying, "Hey, I'm going to pretend like this was a forged signature for the land that Claude had, and he would end up taking it back, and Claude would pretty much have nowhere to go. He'd be kind of just out of luck, and Keith didn't want that, so Keith kept it from everybody and was selling these demons. Now, the demons themselves, it turns out that not only did Keith was doing this just for Claude's sake, but the demons were doing it for Claude's sake. They actually volunteered to be sold off just so Claude could keep his property and nothing bad would happen to him. So he would be safe. So the demons knew about that, and on top of that, Keith made sure that the people who bought them took care of those demons over time and to make sure they didn't do anything bad with them. So he was still looking out for those demons, and the demons themselves volunteered to be sold. So Keith is in no way a bad guy. He ends up joining that whole company that Eileen came up with. Side note about that company, I didn't talk about this in the previous episode. That whole company, the whole reason to buy it was after Cedric, again, Cedric is trash, and I'm going to get to him in a second. But after Cedric took a bunch of her companies away, she came up with the idea of making that Obsidian company, pretty much putting that out there, selling makeup and accessories to the rich, having the marketing to where she would sell or give free samples to some girls, but not others. They'd argue, it would create a lot of buzz, and they would make more and more money. So that was her whole company thing. But Keith ended up kind of joining that, and they set a plan in motion. Their plan was to, like in the game, Claude was supposed to find out because Cedric and Lily was supposed to go to him, let him know that Keith was doing this dirty work, and because of that, Claude would go crazy, and then that route would show up. Well, they went to the house, right? And it was hilarious. Eileen showed up, was laughing hysterically, kind of pretty much just trampled all over Lilia, who is evil. I'm telling you, this girl is evil. But Eileen pretty much shut that down. She's been working with Keith this whole time to kind of set up a new plan. She actually has the property that the Count was holding over the head of Keith. She now has property over that now, so that's in the clear. And the plan was to have him show up to the Count to sell him demons, but really she wasn't. They were going to sell the demons. They were really just trying to take his account book. Take his account book away, show it to the public that these demons have been getting sold by the Count, pretty much ruining him and shutting him down from ever trying to hold things over Keith anymore, to where Keith would be free, the Claude would be free, his property would be in the clear. So the plan was to steal it from him. Everything was working perfectly, but one thing was off. One thing was very, very off, and that was Lilia and Cedric weren't there. They were supposed to in the game. They were there along with Claude to see the whole transaction happening and for Claude to get super angry and again turn to the dragon and whatnot. But they were missing, and Eileen thought that was kind of weird. Turns out they had a new plan. Remember I told you a few minutes ago that Eileen kind of jumped in and pretty much stole the thunder from Lilia and Cedric that, hey, nothing's wrong. You guys can go away. Eileen made her look foolish, and because of that, they came up with a new plan to make Claude turn to the dragon. The whole reason why they showed up in the first place was to get Claude to turn into the dragon. And why would they do that? They want for Lilia to be accepted as the Empress. In order for her to be accepted as the Empress, the route of the game has to come true. Claude has turned to that dragon. They have to then defeat Claude, and upon defeating him and I guess saving the realm, she becomes accepted as the Empress. Now, because Eileen kind of blew that up and shut all that down with her particular plans, they had to come up with a new plan. Now, if you're listening to this, you're probably just as angry as I am about what their new plan was. Their new terrible plan was to take and steal, kidnap Eileen, take her off, violate her, purposely violate her, so that Claude would get so angry at Cedric, so upset, he would turn to the dragon, and then they can save the world by killing him. That's how evil these two are. And the whole time, Lily is putting on that smiley face, like, "Oh, this is so terrible. I'm gonna put you out of your misery." They set it up. They set him up to turn. And even in the episode, if I remember correctly, Cedric even said he's going to turn into the dragon just like we thought. So she's sitting there trying to still put on this face that she's kind and sweet. She really isn't. I'm telling you, there's going to be an episode that's going to show up in the future to where her true colors are going to finally show themselves. but they planned for her to get violated, for Eileen to get violated like that, and they were going to do that to cause Claude to turn into that dragon. But the power of love, there was a beautiful scene between Claude and Eileen to where he was a dragon, she was in her human form, and she brought him back. But I skipped something, sorry. Going back a little bit before that scene happened, when Lilia tried to attack with her holy sword, instead of being able to go and kill Claude, Eileen jumped in front of it and took the sword. What I didn't know about this series is that that holy maiden power that Lilia has, apparently Eileen also has that power. So just like Lilia took the sword out of her body, Eileen then took that sword into her body and stealing that sword away from her. Now she has that holy sword within her body, and if she wants to use it, she can because she took it from Lilia. So anyway, moving on. After Eileen talks Claude down, and her tears actually turn him back into his human form, and everything is all right with the world. There was a really beautiful scene between Eileen's dad and Claude to where he was like, "Hey, I don't have any interest in being the emperor." Because once this whole situation came about, in order to kind of hide Cedric and not have him, have the owner for his crimes, they reinstated Claude to where now he's a prince now, and he become the emperor if he so chooses. But Claude, being Claude, didn't care. He had no interest about becoming the emperor. He told her dad, "Hey, that's not for me. I don't care about none of that." But that was like, "Look, I love my daughter. I care about her deeply. You're not marrying her if you're not emperor." So Claude was like, "Bet I'm going to be the emperor now." And the episode ends with them, announcing their engagement. Cedric and Eileen and whoever that guy was with them, they look super salty. And guys, it's just, I apologize if this sounds like I'm super rambling, but there was just so much that happened. I have like actual notes that I was going to read off of, but I ended up not even really using them, to be honest, because it was just so much happened. It was beautiful. I, I I'm speechless about how beautiful this show is. It's perfection. I can't think of another show that I truly enjoyed more in one episode than this. This episode could have been the season finale, and I would have been completely satisfied with it. It was everything. I mean, I can't find a single fault in this episode. Being short and having this much happen at once is crazy to me. So, guys, I hope you truly enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. I apologize for rambling like this. I did this in one take. That's just how I like doing videos. I like talking about things as if I'm having a conversation with one of my friends. If I'm talking with one of my friends, I'm not going to stop and gather myself. No, I'm just going to keep talking. So, guys, take care. Deuces.